I want to bring in a really special guest here to talk through one of the biggest political issues in the U.S. right now. I'm talking about crime and how it got to be so out of control in Democrat-run cities like New York. Meet Bo Dietl. He's a former construction worker turned cop who became a high-profile detective, making over 1,400 felony arrests and was awarded 62 medals by the NYPD. He also, even during his career, became a decoy in which he was mugged over 500 times and suffered 30 injuries in the line of duty. Not surprisingly, he left the force in 1995, but remains active in the world of law enforcement, security, and politics, having himself made a tilt for Congress once upon a time. Bo, welcome to the program. New York these days, under Eric Adams and the Democrats, you got problems with migrants, crime. The subways are a hellhole with crime, up 22% in the last year. Is it as bad today in 2024 as it was when you were on the force?
I really believe it's worse. I mean, back in the 1970s, when I came on the force, when I was a decoy, the one difference was we could lock up these perpetrators and put them in jail. Today, you lock them up, they're out ahead of the police officers. And right now, it's a lot worse than when people believe. And I'm just scared stiff about what the next shoe is going to be to fall with all these migrants coming through our southern border, mostly a lot of gang members. We have no idea who they are. The gates are open. They're coming in. They're locking up gang members out there. They're assaulting cops. They have no kind of any kind of feelings or any kind of fear of the law enforcement. And then when they arrest them, they bring them into the court and they're released. These are illegals. We don't even know who they are, and they're being released. Now, they don't even want the city council and New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate passed a bill that they can't turn these criminals over to ICE. So in other words, we could deport them. They can't do that. And this is what's going on in our city right now. And again, I'm so fearful of what's going on even in our colleges as we speak. They've taken over NYU and Columbia University, and they're letting them take over. And now the Jewish the Jewish kids that are going to college can't even go to school. They're shutting them down.
Well, Bo, I want to get to the stories at those campuses like Columbia in a minute, but first let's talk about, though, these illegal gangs. And we've seen them thumbing their nose at authority, doing some really organized theft and crime. And yet one of the things that I keep seeing time and time again following the press in New York, not just in New York, but elsewhere too, the judges keep letting them out over and over again. There was that case of squatters in Brooklyn. I think they'd all had huge arrest records, and they just kept getting let out again and again. What is going on in the heads of these judges, and how did they wind up getting on the bench in the first place if they don't seem to want to enforce the law?
Very good point. You see, the system in New York State and New York City, obviously, you have the three branches of government, and you have the judicial. Now, that's the judges. They have the opportunity. They don't have to conform with the laws that were passed that these criminals can't be turned over to ICE. The fact of the matter is, them as judges could turn them over to ICE, but they're not doing it.
Well, but let me ask you about this, though, Bo, because here's the thing. Like, if it's a federal law, if migration law, that's a responsibility of the federal government. Just like, say, for example, if the NYPD was working with, the Drug Enforcement Agency on a big drug bust, that's a federal crime that you're working on them with. How is it that the New York City, I don't get how all of these cities with all these sanctuary city judges, they're saying, thumbing their nose essentially at the feds and saying, look, we're not actually going to follow federal law. I mean, it seems like civil wars have been fought over less, not to be dramatic about it.
No, that's an excellent point. You're breaking federal law. You're illegally in this country. And this is what's happening. And the Democratic machine, the Democrats, are the ones that are standing up for it and saying, oh, no, the state of Texas can't do that. The governor of Texas wants to get them and round them up and send them back. But the federal government say, no, you can't. This is going to take place. It's going to end up in the Supreme Court. This is so ridiculous what's going on. And I'm telling you, 10 million, maybe 15 million illegals that we don't even know who they are in our country. And a great majority, what I'm seeing on the streets of New York, are these gang members. You see the tattoos up their neck. And what's going to happen next? They're doing illegal stuff. They're robbing all the stores. You can't stop them from robbing the stores, and they get arrested, and they're right out. And what's going to happen next is, if there's nothing to rob in the stores, this crime wave is going to be hitting New York City and all these Democratic-run cities, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Baltimore, Washington. Whenever you have an administration that's run by a liberal Democrat, this is what I don't understand what's going on in our lives. Security for people, that's under the Constitution. The government is supposed to protect our people against the criminal element, and they're not.
And, Bo, I mean, it's like the same thing we're seeing, you know, we talk about this on the program all the time here, these demonstrators who've taken over the university campuses, Columbia, NYU, all over the place. Yeah. This seems to be like, tell me as a cop, as a former cop, you know, when you see people doing things like blocking a road to an airport, blocking the Brooklyn Bridge, blocking things like that, that goes beyond free speech, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Where's my freedom so I could go and come from where I have to go? And now people have to understand, we have a bunch of morons in the New York City Council, progressive beyond progressive. Every time the mayor, who I know very well I know Eric Adams, every time he tries to do something, they override, he vetoes it, and they override his veto. They control everything. The last joke was that the cops now have to fill out all these forms. If someone asks them for directions, they got to stop what they're doing and they got to fill these forms out. The other joke was they got to make arrests. You can't get a guy in a headlock. You can't get on top of him. How in the hell do you arrest a violent felon? What are you supposed to levitate 5 feet over him and drop the handcuffs down? The most ridiculous laws that they have in New York. This city council are a bunch of moron progressives. You know what? They should become the victims, and their family members should become victims. I am so outraged about what's happening in this city that I love. I gave my blood in this city when I was a decoy. I got mugged, I got stabbed, I got shot at, hit over the head with bats and stuff. But my point is, at least I can lock them up. Today, they laugh at you. The poor police officers are out there, and I see them every day. And you know what they tell me? Well, we can't get involved because we're going to lose our pension. And if someone makes an allegation of a cop using a racial slur, they'll drop the charges of robbery and they'll prosecute the cop on the statement of the criminal. The criminals have all the rights. The poor police officers don't have any rights.
Bo, it's a shocking situation here. We're going to come back to you again. I wanted to talk about this again in the weeks and months to come. This shocking situation in New York and across Democrat-run cities. I reckon there's going to be a huge election issue for some of these cities that reliably go Democrat. Maybe they might have a bit more of a Republican vote in November. Bo Dietl, thank you so much for your time today.
You know, real fast, the minority neighborhoods in New York City are probably the ones that are the most victims. They're the ones that are victims of all the crime, a lot of the crime. We have to wake up before it's too late. And you know what? I love this city, but I feel nervous about where we're going.